The Republicans are set to introduce their fifth version of their second stimulus package. The Democrats are under fire for choking stimulus packages in a 125-page bill. So what is going on? Hey, good evening, everybody. This is LALATE with a special report. The return of Nancy and Steve lies and deceptions. This video about the second stimulus check. Not so much what is the check, but why have both Republicans and Democrats stranglehold your check to not send it out and seemingly made up an excuse every single day of why your check is not going out. We certainly understand what's going on, but why? That's what this video and the special investigative report does tonight. Over the last 4 weeks, this channel has seen both Republicans and Democrats come up with another story by the hour of why your second stimulus check has not gone out. And yet today, we still don't see an explanation of the answer. There's a lot of theories out there as to why Democrats don't want the second stimulus check to go out. For example, the second stimulus check is part of the stimulus package. There's been calls upon Nancy Pelosi to take the second stimulus check out of the second stimulus package, make it a standalone bill, so that it can be quickly routed to American citizens and American residents. Why has she not done that? On the other hand, there has been a realm of confusion among the Republicans who by the hour sometimes say you're going to get a stimulus check, then they say you're not going to get a stimulus check, then they say you are, then they say you aren't. They change the amounts, they decrease the amounts, they increase the amounts, and it never seems like it's going anywhere at any time. So why is this happening? And are they doing it for their own personal gain at your expense? The answer, apparently, is yes. First, turning to Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell's job is on the line. Even if he's reelected to his Senate seat in the fall, which apparently he could, based upon the number of votes currently in his home state, there are questions of whether he'll ever serve again in any capacity like the one he's doing now. The reason why is he's not been able to get support among Republicans for the second stimulus package. And that support is tied to the second stimulus check. Many people often wonder why Mitch McConnell seems to be delayed in doing things. And when it's come to the second stimulus check, it got even weirder today. Reports surface online that a skinny bill is being drafted by Mitch McConnell that would be introduced this afternoon that would not have a stimulus check in it. Now, a lot of things about this is very strange. The first thing that's strange is why is McConnell yet again drafting a new bill? McConnell drafted the HEALS Act several weeks ago, an act that got no support from the White House, that was panned by a lot of Republicans, that ultimately was not part of the negotiations between Steve and Nancy, and that involved an ouster of McConnell from any negotiations. McConnell was not involved in the negotiations of the second stimulus check. So why is he now doing another bill on a situation where he's not involved in the negotiations? Reports claim that McConnell is doing this because it concerns his own seat in the Senate. There is shockingly, hard to believe, but there's shockingly a series of Republicans who are irate that the HEALS Act, written by McConnell several weeks ago, called for a $1 trillion budget. Nancy Pelosi's bill proposes a $3 trillion budget. By comparison, the CARES Act back in the spring was $2 trillion. These apparent Republicans don't even want $1 trillion and want something in a couple $100 billion as a bill. Who are they? Where are they? What states are they? What's their names? It's like a big darn mystery. But apparently their stranglehold on McConnell has urged him and forced him to now write up another version of the stimulus package to appease their interest to keep his seat in the Senate. Now, we can all understand it's a power play to keep his seat, and he's doing something that ultimately maybe Steve Mnuchin and Mark Meadows will totally ignore because he's not in the negotiation rooms, and who cares what McConnell does. We saw that over 4 weeks ago when McConnell went home on a weekend before the HEALS Act was delivered, and Steve Mnuchin went to the House and to the Senate to speak with Republicans to get their support for his proposal. And he was asked about disagreements between him and McConnell. He says there are, but he said that the level of disagreements was being magnified by liberal media. Never to say he said there was a disagreement. So why is McConnell yet again trying to appease to another group that's not involved in the negotiations to take out a stimulus check? And why is he doing this less than 48 hours after Mark Meadows, who is in the negotiation room, chief of staff to Donald Trump, said he's ready to send out a stimulus check this week? The president's ready to send out the bill. It's Nancy's fault it's not going out. Why is McConnell doing this only a few days after the president sent out a tweet last Friday saying, I'm ordering Steve Mnuchin to send out the checks right now? And it's the Democrats' fault. So tonight, is it Mitch McConnell's fault the stimulus checks aren't going out? Because his proposed skinny bill doesn't have it in there. What's ironic about this skinny bill is it's so skinny, no one has seen it. If you've been with this channel for a couple of weeks, there was a whole week in which we were told Mitch is going to release something, and every single day it was like, has he released it? Has he released it? Well, as of 5 o'clock this afternoon, he had not released it. And yet he operates a very good press machine because everyone had already thought it was law by noon today. And I literally got tweets and DMs and, smoke signals saying, oh my God, there's this new law and there's no stimulus check. I'm like, no, that's the Mitch McConnell press machine. Apparently it's very well oiled. So why is he doing this, McConnell? Does he really dislike the American worker? There's all indications that he really does. McConnell early on in this pandemic insulted, disparaged, slammed Americans like no one has ever seen. Calling you someone that want to stay home and rich and get on the American public, refusing to take a job to go back to work, that you're the blame of why this pandemic exists, that you're the fault, that everything that is truly horribly disgusting to say to someone that's suffering during a pandemic came out of his mouth. And it was not tied to economics. It was just tied to personal attacks on the American worker. So by all accounts, perhaps McConnell's quest to not give you a stimulus check is a personal vengeance upon not wanting to take care of Americans. Because since early in the pandemic, he's called you literally every name. Now, let's turn to the rest of the Republicans, though, before we turn to Nancy and the Democrats. The question is, why haven't the rest of the Democrats gotten it done? Now, if you ask Meadows or Mnuchin or Trump, they may say on a particular day it's the Democrats' fault. But why haven't the Republicans made clear that, one, dependents are at $1,200, not $500, 2, made a determination about child support, 3, made a determination of how fast it goes out? Because as we sit here right now, everyone understands in the first stimulus package, the adult dependents 18 years of age or older didn't get a check. They weren't eligible. So they're sitting around since March without a check, and this is their opportunity, and Mnuchin comes around and says $500 for them? Mnuchin, why does it worry you? Why does it bother Steve Mnuchin to send out a little bit more money instead of $500 for dependents at $1,200? Does it cast a bad perception upon the office of the presidency if you're paying dependents at $1,200 versus $500? No. And then how about the president's tweets last Friday that he wanted to pay a household of 4 individuals, not 5, stimulus checks? Okay, does that have a message to it? Is there a reason why the president's at 5, a household of 5 instead of a household of 6? Where and why are people disagreeing upon things? people are starting to really wonder, why does Mnuchin and Trump want to argue over a household of 5 versus a household of 6? Is the household of 6 any worse in the perception of Mnuchin's eyes than the household of 5? Is the payment of a dependent at $1,200 justified by any economics? That $500 justified by economics that you don't pay them $1,200? No. I mean, this channel has reported extensively that an adult dependent who simply happens to be a dependent is not any less of a person in the economic framework than a person who's an adult but is not a dependent. An example is a retired veteran. I always use that example. A retired veteran who served this country for 45 years, and then maybe he just doesn't have a difficult and complex tax return, so he's a dependent on his son's tax return. His neighbor, same income, same pension, maybe he appears on his own tax return. Why are the two buddies treated differently under the perception of Steve Mnuchin? I don't understand the economics of it. Just pay dependents $1,200. Just pay a family of 5 $1,200. Is there a reason why we only want to pay a family of 4 or a family of 6? Or why is this an issue? Now, some say that the president's position has been to not perceive that the American economy is struggling and to not talk about stimulus too much, but he barely talks about it. Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats are equally at fault as to what's going on with their stimulus packages. Kamala Harris has been chosen as vice presidential running mate to Joe Biden, and she, with Bernie Sanders and another top Democrat in the Senate, introduced legislation that called for multiple stimulus checks. $2,000 check every month for 6 months until the pandemic improves or unemployment rates improve. Why was that never supported by other Democrats? Why were Democrats so gung-ho on, giving the post office hundreds of trillions of dollars, but not giving American citizens a few more checks? The Democrats in the spring said you were going to get multiple checks. You're going to get a check for the month of March and April, May. You were in lockdown for every month. You said, oh, we're going to get it to you. But then they took it out. They said, we'll get to it later. Okay, how come you didn't put it back this time? How come you didn't adopt what Kamala Harris said? In fact, Joe Biden, who, his economic policies are just around the corner, and if he wins, his economic policies may be at issue with Nancy Pelosi. He doesn't like this little drip, drip, drip economics. He says throw stimulus and keep on throwing stimulus onto the fire until it works. And so if you're dropping a $1,200 check several months later, why can't you drop a $2,000 check every month for 6 months? And why is Nancy Pelosi on a daily basis talking about children going hungry, but thinks that if you gave a $1,200 check, you don't go hungry? Does Nancy Pelosi know how much it costs to pay for food for a family of 5, which is in her stimulus package, for a family of 5 from May, June, July, August? Okay, that's 4 months. 4 months, family of 5. How much money do you think the food costs for 4 months for a family of 5? She went to give one check for that family of 5, $6,000. Do you think $6,000 will cover all the food for 4 months for Nancy Pelosi? Let's say it does. Okay, how are they going to come up for their rent? There's so much that doesn't make sense in these people's doings that viewers are really exasperated, not just with the inability of these people to come up with an agreement, but starting to go like, is there a reason why you don't want to reach an agreement? Nancy Pelosi is currently under fire, as I reported overnight. Her refusal to do a standalone bill for a second stimulus check is really putting her in the crosshairs. I started the discussion. It's really ramping up. I told you to tag her last night. And she apparently said last Friday she would do a standalone bill. She's still not done a standalone bill. And yesterday I detailed Carolyn Maloney, a representative out of New York, has now done a one-page standalone bill for a postmaster? Nancy's having an issue with her mailman, and she was able to do it as a single-page bill and can bring members of Congress back in session to do something with the postman. But she can't do that for a stimulus check. The stimulus check must be part of the stimulus package. We're not going to piecemeal. Why won't you piecemeal, Nancy? Give me one reason why you're not piecemealing, at least for a stimulus check. Her response has consistently been the following. She introduced a bill in May, and the Democrats did, and the Republicans did nothing. Mitch McConnell pressed pause. Okay, that's fine. I got it. Do you think maybe your bill was a little bit was poorly drafted? Maybe, it just wasn't done right? Do you think maybe if you could tinker your bill a little bit, maybe you can get people to agree upon it? How about actually coming and meeting people and negotiating? You're paid to work. Why are you refusing to meet with Steve Mnuchin? As one viewer said, televise it. It'd probably be a ratings hit. It'd probably be this like, who cares about Big Brother? This is Nancy and Steve with the cameras in the Big Brother house. Put Nancy and Steve in the Big Brother house. Just put cameras all around them, and then there's the kitchen, and then Steve doesn't answer the question, then Mark Meadows goes outside and kicks the furniture. Put them in the Big Brother house for 8 hours. I guarantee you have a second stimulus package deal. But no. She doesn't want to do it. Now, there's a lot of theories about why the Democrats allegedly don't want to reach an agreement. One of them is that they want the economy to implode. This is a theory. One of the theories is that the Democrats want the economy to implode, and they want a government shutdown in late September because the government's about to shut down and there's no agreement on the budget. They're not even to that. And they want everything to just collapse and then just have Joe Biden walk into the presidency. Now, if that theory is really a reality, the question is, do they not see that other people can think that through? Do they not think that other people see that happening? There's a real there's really a like this, we're not doing anything Nancy Pelosi position, but okay, we see that, but is this a Biden move by you? And if it is, well, we all see it. It's so obvious. And then she says Americans are going to die if we wait to September to do a second stimulus check deal. Well, okay. Can we take her quote and check back with her in September? Because apparently chasing down her mailman is more important than Americans dying. She said it. It's not clear what's going on. Hopefully, when these two people, Mnuchin and Pelosi, appear on press, whether it's CNBC like Mnuchin this morning or Pelosi, whenever she does meet the press or something, that the press reporters are a little bit tougher on them. Because so far, they're just a little bit too cutesy with them. And if you look at the broadcast news is too damn cutesy at the moment. I try to be funny. I try to be lighthearted. But listen. Why is Tesla's 5-for-1 stock split? Why is, excitement about Larry Ellison buying TikTok? Why are these stories on the front of all the business channels and stimulus check is nowhere? It's like buried, and maybe they'll do a story about $300 a week. It appears that Wall Street doesn't care. It appears that the big cats don't care. And it appears that maybe the Democrats don't care either. Drop your comments. I'd love to hear from you. Coming up tomorrow morning is Mornings LA Late. As always, stay informed, stay focused, stay motivated, stay smiling, and stay in LA for more.